Hello, everybody. Tom Ballard here from Jesus Trucks and Coffee, the podcast, and also JesusTrucksandCoffee.com. What I want to talk to you about today is podcasts. I am a podcaster. I produce a show with that name, Jesus Trucks and Coffee. But when I talk to people about it, especially truck drivers, one of the questions I get asked an awful lot is, Tom, what's a podcast? We'd love to listen to it. How do we hear your show? So first off, what's a podcast? A podcast is very simply, and in my case, I'm talking mostly about, in comparison, talk radio, like a talk radio show, only it's on the internet. We create, as a podcaster, as I am, we create an audio file, sometimes on a digital recorder, sometimes right onto our computer, but we create an audio file of a show, a podcast, and then we put it somewhere for you to consume, for you to listen to. Now, a couple of places you can find a podcast. For example, Jesus Trucks and Coffee. You could go right to my website and listen to or download the podcast right there from my website. Or any other host, if you listen to whatever you like. There's podcasts on wooden boats. There's podcasts on airplanes, on hunting, fishing, survival, Christian podcasts, trucking podcasts. There's over 20,000 podcasts in just in iTunes alone. There is a lot of content there that you guys can listen to, and I think you'd enjoy it. The best way to listen to a podcast, and in most of your cases you have a smartphone, the best way to listen to a podcast on a smartphone is use a podcast player. Now, if you have an iPhone, it's easy. You go into the App Store and you search for Podcast Player. iTunes has a very nice podcast player for iPhones. If you have an Android, you go into the Play Store where you look for apps and you just search for podcast players. And you will find several that are in there for free or very low cost. I use a free version of an app called Podkicker in my Android, and it works just fine. It doesn't cost me a dime. Now, they do make a premium version, and I will probably upgrade to that pretty soon, and I'll do a review on it when I do. But now that you have a podcast player installed on your phone, you simply search for the podcasts you enjoy. In my case, Jesus Trucks and Coffee. Search for that. You'll find it. You subscribe to it. It'll alert you every time there's a new episode and give you an opportunity to download it. Now, if you're like most of us, you're going to wait till you're somewhere where you have free Wi-Fi and you're going to download the show where you can download it for free and not use your data, and that's okay. For others, you can just download it anytime you want, stream it over your 3G or 4G or whatever connection you have. But you can also search for other subjects you enjoy. Let's say you enjoy aviation, fishing, hunting, wooden boats. There's a guy with a wooden boat podcast. Pretty cool stuff. You name it, and there's a podcast about it. Survival, urban homesteading, farming, gardening. If you have a desire to create a podcast, you can create a podcast. It's pretty inexpensive to throw your hat in the field. Getting found and downloaded is another issue. But if you want to know the easiest way to listen to a podcast, either pull it right off of the website or find that podcast player, download it, and play with it. Guys, it's a smartphone. You can't break it. All you're doing is downloading programs. Worst case scenario, you delete that podcast player, you download it all over again and start over. It's no big deal. Don't worry about breaking things. Don't worry about how it works. When all else fails, hey, ask a teenager to do it for you. Shoot me an email. I'll walk you through it on the phone. I would be glad to do that for you guys. So once again, I want all of you to enjoy the wonderful world of podcasting. Within trucking, there are a ton of good podcasts that I want you to know about and hear about and enjoy. I certainly enjoy them. I hope this video gave you a little bit of an education. What's a podcast? How do I find it? Now, I'm going to take this one step further, and it applies to my podcast and to a few others that are within the trucking industry and some others. Some of us use services where you can actually participate in the podcast as it's being produced. In most cases, it would be something where you could stream it online and through one of these headsets that plugs into your computer, you could communicate with the host. Chat rooms, you can talk to the host in the little chat room. For truckers on the road, there's kind of an antiquated service, but it works good for truckers, called Blog Talk Radio. And with Blog Talk Radio, you could just dial in and listen on your cell phone. And if you have a question or a comment, you can press 1 and it prompts the host. In some cases, somebody will screen your call. In other cases, you'll go directly to the host. And you can communicate with the host while the show is live. But they're still put in the podcast player later so you can download it and listen to them at your convenience. It's a neat way to time shift content. You don't have to, I've got to stop and open the doors and I'm going to miss the best part of this guest interview. You can't pause AM radio. And for that matter, you can't pause live stream. But at least a podcast, you can hit the pause button, you can get out, open your doors back into the dock, go check in, come back, and pick up the show where you left off. It's kind of like a VCR for the radio in so many ways. I hope this gives you guys some information, some ideas, and some creativity on what to look for. I think as satellite radio dwindles in content and dwindles in entertainment value, more and more of you will find podcasting. So share what you've learned with other people. Share what you've learned with friends, family. Hey, if you want to hit share and get this video around that gives a little bit of an explanation, it just might help. Again, find me at JesusTrucksandCoffee.com. I will have this video up on YouTube and up on the channel where they can link to it right there at JesusTrucksandCoffee.com. God bless, drivers. We will talk to you at another time.